there is a tendency among humans to aggressively distrust outsiders. This is an instinct that probably predates our being human. In the 1970s, Dr. Jane Goodall, famous for studying ape behavior, observed a murderous 4-year war fought between two rival groups of chimpanzees. More recent research indicates that aggressive tribalism is a common trait amongst primates, and humanity is no exception. Isolated human tribes have been observed to live in remarkable harmony within their own groups, only to exhibit extreme aggression against strangers. In the past, missionaries and explorers have on numerous occasions been eradicated by tribal peoples they have sought to befriend. This distrust of strangers is rooted deep in us. It is instinctive and irrational, tending to bypass our common sense and make us defensive and aggressive without pausing to think it through. It is obvious that, in a primitive situation where other groups can pose a threat, this is a good survival trait. It can preserve the safety of a tribe and is therefore a positive part of our evolution. Unfortunately, because it is an instinct, it is easily exploited. The stranger danger response tends to be less extreme with individuals rather than groups. In fact, when it is one or two people involved, we tend to be more hospitable. Even more so, if they act like us and dress like us. They can convince us that they are one of us. Or, if our culture has a group that we identify as having more authority, they can take on board the appearance and mannerisms that trigger respect and trust responses in us. What happens if someone gains our respect in this way and then starts pushing the stranger danger button? This is a well-established political trick. A group of politicians with a charismatic leader gains trust from a large section of society and starts to talk about an enemy. Let's call this enemy them. This will be a minority in society that can be easily singled out by appearance. How they dress, how they talk, or what they believe. They are likely to represent a different ethnic group. They may either be immigrants or they may be the remnant of a native people following a mass invasion from elsewhere. They may also represent a different point of view or sexual orientation. Them will be identifiably different to the section of society the political group or party will be attempting to manipulate. The obvious example of this is the Nazis and the Jews. But, in modern times, you can see this happening on many occasions. Nigel Farage uses immigrants as his fake enemy. He claims that both legal immigrants and refugees are a threat to British society and uses the stranger danger button to make people set aside their ability to think and drive them to react only in line with their emotional instincts. The Conservatives are also using immigrants at this time. But they have also invented new enemies. Wokeism is their current new fake enemy. Boris Johnson's Conservatives also performed a masterful act of political trickery in 2016, when they split the United Kingdom into two warring tribes. The Brexiteers and the Remainers was an artificially manufactured tribal division. It had nothing to do with democracy and everything to do with dividing the British electorate along non-political lines in order to run a general election on a single tribalistic issue, with the intention of gaining a large parliamentary majority. It was a trick designed to help Johnson's group execute a political coup. And they succeeded in what they intended. Voters voted entirely about how they felt about Brexit and didn't bother to check out the Conservative manifesto, so now we have an extreme right-wing government with a much larger majority than they deserve and a manifesto that allows them to make constitutional changes that will destroy British democracy and severely impact upon the human and workers' rights of anyone who takes home less than a six-figure income. As a nation, we in the UK need to get a bit more cautious of this trick that politicians play on us. There's no shame in feeling the feelings that having our stranger danger button pressed stirs up in us. It's natural. We all feel it to a certain extent. But we aren't chimpanzees. We are thinking, rational human beings, who are trying to build a better world against our more primitive instincts, and we can recognize these feelings for what they are and examine them to see if they have any true meaning at this time. We also need to treat the people who are pushing that button with the distrust they deserve. If they have a political motivation and they are pushing the stranger danger button, then they are almost definitely up to no good and out to manipulate you into acting against your own best interests. You would be wise not to trust them. If you can, do some research into the claims that they're making. Find out what the actual facts are. There are other words for the stranger danger phenomenon. Most of these carry a certain emotional weight and often seem accusatory. Prejudiced and xenophobic are two most common words used. They are often used in heated arguments either online or face-to-face, and, because of their emotional impact, they tend to put us on the defensive and make us dig into our opinions. What is almost never mentioned about these is that they are common instinctual feelings. We're all xenophobic and prejudiced, but we have the choice of whether or not we respond to these basic instinctual feelings or decide to overcome them and act like civilized people. Don't be ashamed of these feelings, they're natural, but don't be ruled by them either. We need a nation that is working for the best interests of all its members. Anyone who uses the stranger danger button to get your vote is trying to deceive you into making irrational decisions and probably does not have the best interests of society high on their agenda. Please be wary of this politician's trick. Avoid voting with manipulated emotions and, instead, vote for a better future for all of us, not just to keep the mysterious them from invading.